At the European Union, starting from Thailand, with the Bank of Thailand Governor Prasan Trairatwarakul has expressed his optimism that the ongoing EU-Euro crisis would not cause a breakup of the European Monetary Union, although some peripheral economies might end up having to abandon the common currency. Some peripheral economies may walk away from the euro, he said, but the situation should not lead to the eurozone's disintegration. He was speaking ahead of the European summit this Friday, at which German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President Nicolas Sarkozy plan to demand changes to European Union treaties to tighten controls over spending and borrowing for all who use the embattled euro. But Britain, which doesn't use the currency, has threatened to put two brakes on treaty changes, fearing they would force a greater transfer of power from London to Brussels and curb British influence in the EU. Prasan said the Bank of Thailand still holds the baseline assumption of a slowdown in the US and Eurozone economies. The Asian Development Bank, or ADB, yesterday released its latest Asia Economic Monitor, highlighting the growing chance of a deeper crisis in the Eurozone and a new slowdown in the US economy, although the contraction will still be narrower than in 2009. The central bank also revised up its economic growth forecast for next year from 4.1% to 4.8%, while cutting this year's forecast from 2.6% to 1.8%. Dr. Prasan predicts the domestic economy, led by reconstruction efforts, will return to pre-flood strength by mid-2012, increasing inflationary pressure. We expect the economy to run at full potential from the second quarter, he said. The Monetary Policy Committee's decision to cut the interest rate last week reflects its wish to avoid confusion of monetary policy. The bank sees export growth shrinking to 8% next year from 17% this year.
The European Union Council President, Herman Van Rompuy, said that tougher rules to tackle the Eurozone debt crisis can be achieved without changing the Euro treaties. In a leaked report for a crucial EU summit beginning on Thursday, he offers a fast-track fiscal compact that does not need lengthy ratification by parliaments or national referendums. Germany and France are pushing for a new EU treaty by March, stating stricter rules should be enshrined there. The U.S. has also backed their plans, but Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner said the U.S. Federal Reserve had no plans to give money to the International Monetary Fund to boost the Eurozone's bailout fund. Geithner, who is meeting all major Eurozone leaders during his three-day visit of Europe, stressed that more action was needed to boost economic growth in Europe, alongside the longer-term reforms. He meets President Nicolas Sarkozy in Paris on Wednesday. In the interim report, details of which that have been obtained by the media, Mr. Van Rompuy proposes a plan aimed at agreeing new fiscal compact without holding a referendum or ratification by the parliaments of each Eurozone country. And these are the details: is that each Eurozone member's budget deficit should be below 3% of GDP and national debt under 60%. A golden rule should be enshrined into national legislation to guarantee a balanced budget in the medium term. The Eurozone bailout fund is to be given a banking license to borrow directly from the European Central Bank, and the European Commission to have the power to impose austerity measures automatically on countries which require bailouts funds.
Now let's jump to the interview of Dr. Alexander Moore, the MD of Asia of HSBC, on the pressing matter.
Well, I think one in general has to be very careful with kind of ratings. S&P has in the past, especially earlier this year in June, July, August, made some very strange comparisons already, and they even downgraded one of the biggest investment companies in the U.S., the Warren Buffett company, Berkshire Hathaway, and which was not really justified. Then earlier in August, they already for once downgraded France, and then later said it was done by mistake. I would be a little bit careful and reluctant to take it completely serious at the moment. It's maybe to put a little bit pressure on the leadership of the European Union to go ahead with the reforms. However, I think one should put it a little bit in context and not take it too serious at this very moment. Well, actually, I'm very positive. I think right now the pressure is so high. If you see the headlines in the European press, if you see how politicians react to the situation, there's basically no other way than trying to solve by every means the financial and now increasingly economic and democracy crisis in the European Union. I'm very positive that they will come up, even so they are not thinking about Eurobonds at the moment, but I'm very positive by Friday we will have a quite clear picture in which direction the European Union and the economic and monetary union will go further. I definitely think yes. I think a stronger fiscal union, more integration is absolutely essential to solve this problem, to give back trust to the markets, to give back trust to the European Union citizens to go ahead with their lives and give them security to invest in their future as well. Therefore, I think a stronger integration is the way forward and is maybe the last option for the European Union to survive in the future and to play a big role, an economic important role, which is recognized by all players in the future. This is a very difficult question. I think France and Germany are doomed to save the European Union at this very moment. They are the biggest economies. They have shown quite leadership skills in the past. Sarkozy and Merkel just met yesterday, where they presented a 5-point plan, which basically leads in what we just mentioned earlier, a closer fiscal union on the European Union level. So Germany and France do not have any other chance. It's in their very own interest. Both countries are export-orientated. Both countries need the Eurozone to be economically playing an important role in the future. And therefore, France and Germany, at this very moment, if they want it or not, have to save the Eurozone to some extent.